What is up, everybody? Good evening, and welcome to a brand new episode of IDTALK4ED Live, the show for the unsung heroes of education. I'm your host, Sarfo-Mensah, and if this is your first time watching this show, please be sure that you come back again to hear some more content. But for those who have been following us from day 1 or from day 30, whenever you start to follow us, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and all other streaming platforms. And you can see it right down the ticker over here. So tonight, I have a special guest. Good friend of mine. Was able to meet her last summer, 2019, at the State of Black Learning Conference in Pittsburgh. And this is somebody who I've been following closely for the past year and plus, and she's just phenomenal. You know, we have here, of course, an educator. She's a blogger. She's a teacher self-care advocate and a certified teacher tea addict. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that when she comes on. But for my native Pittsburghers, this is going to be a special one for you. All my people from the 412, and I got a lot of friends from out there. I want to go ahead and welcome Krystal Smith, aka the RenewED teacher, to the podcast. So let's give her a warm welcome. What is going on?
Hey, what's going on, Kwame? How you doing? Hey, everybody, how y'all doing?
Yes.
That was an amazing introduction. I hope I live up to it now.
Nah, you're doing it right now.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And this is something that we need to do just as teacher influencers, just as Black educators in general. We need to give each other our flowers when we're doing great work, because we get so caught up in the moment. We get so caught up in just doing what we need to do for our kids and for our communities that we don't always take the time to reflect and really see the impact that we're having on so many people. So whenever people come onto this show, it's an obligation for me to let them know how much I appreciate them. So that's why I have you all here tonight.
I appreciate that. Give people flowers while they're here.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned in the beginning, you are from Pittsburgh.
Born and raised.
All right. So other than that, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your life, and what brought you into the field of education.
All right. Well, I've been teaching 14 years, but in addition to teaching, I'm also a wife. I'm also a mother. I've been married for 5 years. I have 2 sons, 2 brown boy joys. My oldest is 5 years old, and he's in kindergarten. And my youngest just turned 1 year old on Monday. So I'm definitely blessed in that area. But like I said, I've been teaching for 14 years. And what brought me to education, I think I was born to teach, to be honest. But I remember first grade. I was moving from one school district to another. Mm-hmm. My mother was in the hospital. She battles mental illness. So we had to move closer to my grandparents. And I got a new teacher that year because I was moving to a new school. And she just was amazing. She was a Black lady, Miss Kendrick. And I still see her periodically. And every time I see her, I thank her for how she welcomed me to her classroom, how she treated all of her scholars. And especially one little girl in my class who seemed to not be as fortunate as the rest of us in the classroom. And the way that she treated her, but the way that she treated everybody in the room, it made me feel good. And I wanted to make people feel good like that. I wanted to make children feel good like that. But I decided I wanted to be a professional double Dutch jump roper. And then I wanted to work at a local grocery store because I wanted to touch money. I loved numbers back then. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, I decided I wanted to be an accountant. So I applied to the School of Business at Pitt, didn't get in there, but I had an internship and was bored to death. And then I finally went back to teaching because that is what I enjoyed most. I enjoyed working with children. I enjoyed just helping them see things that they could not see and helping them have a purpose for just reaching their dreams and all of that. So that's like my theme every year is in this class, and we work to reach your dreams. So just going all the way back to being 6 years old, that's when I decided, that's when I knew that teaching was probably for me, just a 6-year-old little girl. Hi, Sil. Hi, Tiffany.
Yes. Hello, Sil and Tiffany. Glad to have you on tonight. So I know one thing about education is that it just falls into our lap for so many of us. Like, I know for myself, I didn't grow up thinking I'm going to be an educator. So something that I discovered much later in life. So it's just amazing to hear the guests come on to just share their stories about how they got to where they are. So yes, I appreciate you sharing that. But I know it's been a tough year for many educators with virtual learning and remote learning, hybrid learning, or just the combination of all that, right?
Right.
So, and it's really impacted a lot of people's self-care and mental health, which we're going to definitely go deep into a little bit later. But I just want to check in with you. How has the virtual learning experience been for your kids, been for you? How's it impacted your family? So where are you right now in this space?
So it's the teaching part isn't hard. I'll say that. The teaching part isn't hard. Initially learning how to use the technology, knowing what platforms to use, knowing how to just do things you've never had to do before, unless you were on MySpace back in the day. Initially, that part was hard, but once you got it, it's easy. I went into this thing knowing that I was going to have to teach some technology skills to my scholars. So my first 2 weeks, it was focused on getting these kids to be able to have access to this technology and being able to use it effectively. So I did not go in teaching Common Core or the mathematical content. I went in making sure that if I wanted them to do the math, they had to know how to access the math. They had to know the resources the best way. So I'm glad that I did that, because now my kids, they can make PowerPoints, they can upload things, they can do things that they're able to generalize and do things that I haven't quite taught them to do yet. And that part's been amazing. The part that's not so good is that they're all not doing their work. And while I'm able to motivate a majority of them and inspire and encourage a majority of them, they're not all, this is just not the platform, the learning platform for all kids. Some kids are not independent workers and they need somebody on their tail every single moment, every single minute of the day. And for those kids, I worry about them the most. Some kids are going to fall really far behind because they're not getting what they need in this setting. And right now, my school district, we are remote. Most of our scholars will be remote until January 4th. So I worry about all those kids that I am not able to reach via the computer. Again, majority of them, especially like my 5th grade group, a majority of them, but not all of them. And that bothers me. So my son is also home as well. He's a kindergartner and he's doing really well. He doesn't need too much help from me, but when he does, it's like I have to stop teaching my scholars to help him. And that's something that I'm not going to let my son fail, period. But I do still, in the back of my mind, I still feel guilty that I have to try to balance that at times. Now, there are days when my husband is here, he's able to help. So there's some days where there are no interruptions, but on the days when my husband's not here, it's like, all right, kids, I need y'all to work on this independent work so that I can go help my son. I'll be back. If y'all need me, type it in the chat. And they're cool with it and they understand and their parents understand, but I still feel guilty about it. So that part, that's a struggle as well. But overall, the actual teaching part of online isn't difficult for me in regards to getting the content to the kids. It takes a little bit longer. Like we're not doing one lesson per day. Like we would in a school building. And even in a school building, we don't always get through one lesson a day. So things are a little bit slower. We have computer issues all the time. So that slows things down. Some kids are getting what they need. Some kids aren't. And it's not that they don't have the technology. It's like technology has issues. But so it's like, it's good sometimes and it's bad sometimes.
So I know for you teach fourth graders.
I teach fourth and fifth grade, fourth and fifth grade
So
math and
fourth
social
and fifth
studies.
grade. So
Yes,
they're
sir.
like 9 and 10 years old.
Yep. And I got a couple that'll be 11 soon.
All right. So I'm wondering, based on what you just said, if you had to give percentages for each of these two, what's the breakdown of synchronous learning taking place versus asynchronous learning, knowing that a lot of your kids, are not independent learners. If you just give them a bunch of work to do or complete, they may or may not get it done. So what do you think the percentage breakdown is between those two for you right now?
I know, well, for me personally, I definitely have to keep them on. If I let them go, it's not getting done. So, so even if they're working asynchronously, if they need me, I'm still here. So unless it's like an asynchronous day, because we had one asynchronous day. It was on election day. And then like our half days are asynchronous. They kind of have been asynchronous days, but they're not mandatory yet because our district and our union, they've been having some, battles going back and forth, trying to figure out how to give teachers time to plan for the asynchronous days. So that's another discussion for another day. But most times during like on our Monday through Fridays, most of our work is synchronous, but I do give them asynchronous time, but I do make them like keep me on in the background. You don't got to be on your computer working. You don't have to necessarily have your camera on, but if you need help, then ask because I'm right here at my computer with you all. And I feel like for my scholars, I have to be that way with them. Or else when they're working asynchronously, it's not getting done. I can tell you on Tuesday, I had to talk to my kids Wednesday because when I went to go check the work, the missing work that I saw, I was so disappointed on Wednesday. And we like had to have a whole conversation, had to have a whole circle topic, like why isn't it done? Like, of course, some kids were having tech issues, but I'm like not all of y'all were having tech issues because y'all were all on Monday. Not everybody's computer messed up on Tuesday. So it's the balance is challenging because a lot of them are not doing the asynchronous work, and grades count in our district, and we all have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. And I agree, Tiffany, it is a lot of screen time. So I definitely make my kids like log off. All right, y'all working on pencil and paper right now. And then y'all need to just show me or take a picture and send it to me because they cannot be on screen the entire time. It's too much. It's damaging for their minds. It's damaging for their eyes. Very challenging still.
Yeah. I mean, you're right about that. There's just a lot going on there. And then I just wonder, with all that happening, right? Having to balance the screen time, which is an excessive amount of screen time.
It's insane.
For a fourth or fifth grade, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the fact that even during a normal school year where we have the kids in person, getting kids to be autonomous learners, getting kids to do their work on their own is a challenge during a normal school year, right?
Yep.
Now you have this extra layer of remote learning that just further complicates things.
Yes, sir. It sure does.
Because now you are trusting that your students are going to do the work. But the thing is, the habits that we're talking about are habits that have to be modeled, they have to be taught.
Yeah.
Just like everything else. I know, like in so many of our education training, we always learn about this concept of metacognition.
Thinking about thinking.
How do you teach students how to think? How do students self-assess their own thinking and their own ability to process information,
right,
and to retain it? Those are skills that we have to model and teach them. Like, think about the number of times when you've told students, hey, we're going to have a test. And let's say that majority of kids failed that test. And then you ask that question, how many of y'all study? And a lot of kids say I studied, and they go deeper. Okay, how did you study? Tell me what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, I just looked through my notes for 10 minutes and I studied. I looked through my notes for 10 minutes. And they really say that, not jokingly, they say it seriously, like I
Right.
studied for real, Mr. Sarfo-Mensah.
Right. And they're dead serious.
So, and I say all that to say, if we're having those kind of issues during a normal school year, imagine how much these issues are exacerbated with this extra layer, with these extra challenges that are presented with virtual learning.
Yes, sir.
So that part, I think we have to address. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the part that's it's like it's hard to address, because one minute you're like I'll call a parent in a heartbeat. Like, I'll mute myself, turn my camera off, or I'll just mute myself and I say, all right, so and so, I'm getting ready to call your mom. I'm getting ready to call your dad. I'm getting ready to call home. If they don't say anything, I definitely call. Like I had one kid, like the first week of school, didn't say anything. And I was like, do y'all think he's on? They're like, we think he's playing a video game. So I called his mom and I said, are you home? And she said, yeah. She said she was home. And I said, can you go check on him? Because I'm saying his name. I typed to him in the chat. Did he go to the restroom? What's going on? And she went to check. He was playing a video game, but he was on. And like, he was on in 1 minute after I had made that phone call. And he was so upset. And I was like, dude, you can't do that. You can play video games after school. But anyway, just a lot of them. And I had to tell them, and I said, I got caught up too, and I'm an adult. When we went back and we started doing our PD, and they had it trying to teach us everything they wanted to teach us online, I was definitely doing my own thing. And then I didn't know what they were trying to teach me. And I had to share my experience with them. And I say, you can't do that. You're going to end up missing something important. And like, I can't be trying to type a blog post when I'm supposed to be listening to this PD. Or I can't be doing a post for Instagram when I'm supposed to be doing this PD. Because if I'm missing out something, then I got to go all the way back to the beginning and reteach it myself, or ask a question that was already asked. So getting them to focus is really important. And Sil mentioned something about it's not easy to teach intrinsic motivation, and 100% correct. So it's important for us as educators to make sure that we do things to extrinsically motivate them. So I know, like, even today, I stopped by a kid's house before this show, because he was voted Student of the Week. And he's voted Student of the Week almost every week, even though he's not the only kid that's doing what he needs to do successfully. So he's doing a great job, but he's won 3 times so far. And he's motivated intrinsically, but I think the extra stuff that I'm doing on top of that is making him work even harder. And a couple other scholars as well. But just, it's very challenging for me. Very challenging.
I can't even imagine just how difficult it is in the classroom now. But what I would say is, I just think that it's just difficult for educators. And as you were talking, I'm thinking about a post that I saw from a friend of mine who said that he had another friend who was teaching 5th grade, and there was a student in her class who had not done any work all year long.
See,
and he's reading at a 2nd grade level, and this is a kid in 5th grade. Now, they tried to submit paperwork to get him on IEP. But the SPED department at that school said that they couldn't do any evaluations because of COVID-19 and virtual learning, social distancing guidelines. So now you have a kid who's in 5th grade, reading at a 2nd grade level, needs the support. And then on top of that, no support is being given from his mother. So then I'm looking at Rochelle's quote. She made a comment saying that, parents have to be on their jobs. And I'm one that tries to look at it from both perspectives, because now that I'm a parent, Even
Different
though
ball
my son's
game.
about to be 3, I mean, now I'm trying to look at things from both perspectives now as a teacher, but also as a parent. But if we want to do some real talk, there's some parents who they just not doing their jobs, you know, and it's not all. And I know it's a difficult time for everybody, but I think what's most frustrating for a lot of educators is the fact that, you know, you're busting your behind, you're trying to do everything possible to teach your own students, but also you have children of your own.
Right. And I have had to speak up and say that to a couple parents. It was the very first day of school. There was a mom on, and she was like, "You got my son wanting to do X, Y, Z." And I was like, "Ma'am," she like, "Well, I got another kid over here." And I was like, "Ma'am, I'm teaching on here, and I have my son over there as well. Like, this is all uncomfortable for all of us." And once I said that, she kind of chilled out. It's like, it ain't just me at home comfortable teaching these kids at home, and I'm living comfortable. No, I have my 5-year-old who's doing remote learning as well. But like, I feel like some parents, they don't know that they are supposed to be doing certain things.
Right.
In my 4th grade group, I literally had to get the kids, and I said, like, the kids, they were cutting up one day. And I was like, you know what? Stop. Everybody go get an adult right now. I don't care where, like, if you're at home, if you're at a center, go get an adult right now. And I had to talk to the adults and say, I need y'all to come in here and check on these kids. Like I don't, every 20 minutes to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because like, they had more access. They had access that I wanted them to have. And I ended up having to change everything, but they were like typing stuff in the chat when they shouldn't be typing. They just kept unmuting themselves and unmuting other people, closing the meetings down, opening the meetings up. And I was like, you know what? Let me just change these settings, but also let me get their adults in here, because I cannot call all these parents. So, and they brought adults in. They said, well, my mom is doing X, Y, Z. And I was like, get your mom now. Get her now. Bring the baby. I don't care. And they, most of them brought an adult. Some of them, if they didn't, those weren't the ones I needed an adult from anyway, because their cameras are always on and you can tell those are the ones who's doing their work all the time. So that was my 4th grade group. And they're doing a whole lot better now. There's still a lot of kids that, like, they're not logging in general. Or they're not logging in consistently. And we call, we text, we message them, and it's just, I don't know. And I feel like some parents, they trust their kids, but they're giving them too much freedom. And I guess thinking, like, not realizing that they're still kids.
Right.
And that they still need someone to be over their shoulders.
No, I understand that, because you want to give your kids the freedom and you want to trust that your kids are going to make the right decisions, but there are times where you just have to be on them.
Yeah.
You got to be on
now, when these report cards come out, some of these parents and kids are going to be in for a rude awakening. It's about it. And I keep telling them, I was like, don't have your parents call me. You better tell them the truth. No, they better not call me. Like,
yes. But listen, so let's shift gears and talk about the RenewED teacher. So I know your story because you've told me your story off air, so I already have the background and just the story that led you to who you are now.
Yeah.
But I want to give you a chance to just share with the audience how you became the RenewED teacher. Well, still becoming that, because it's a process.
Absolutely.
And what's the meaning behind the name? How did that originate?
So I remember, being what's the teacher attrition rate? It's like most teachers, if they go and quit, they usually quit within the first 5 years. So here I am. My first year was great. My principal, bomb.com. Fast forward to my 4th year teaching. I do know why it got hard. It happened, it was the first day of school. Things were fine, but the first day of school, a week before school started, I asked my principal, I said, okay, is my roster set in stone? She was like, yeah, it's all good. These are your kids right here. And I said, so I send letters home about a week before school starts just to introduce myself. And then I have the families write back to me, to tell me a little bit about their child, so that on the first day of school, I can use that information to ask them questions. Oh, I heard you went XYZ over the summer. Oh, I heard your mom had a little baby. How's the baby doing? Just to start conversations before school even starts. So I did that. That's what I normally do. That's what I did. The first day of school, my whole roster was different. There were 24, let's say there were 24 kids on a roster. Half of them were no longer in my class, and there were 12 more new kids on my roster.
Come on.
Kids were in the hallway crying because they didn't know until the first day of school. They were mad because they had to go to some other teacher's classroom. Meanwhile, they were expecting me because I had called them to follow up with the letter after the fact. And the year just was bad from that point on. I don't know if it was my attitude about the situation or if it just was the principal and I weren't a good fit for each other. So, and honestly, I don't know, but that year is when I started thinking about the RenewED teacher, my fourth year teaching, because I was about to quit that year. Like it was terrible. But the thing that saved me was I had a student teacher that year as well. And I was like, wait, I can't have this attitude and have this student teacher and like not do what I'm supposed to do because I'm upset with how things are going, or I can't figure out how to make things better and I'm not being supported on how to make things better. I have to show her what you can do to make things better and to make it through a hard year, because we're all going to have a hard year at some point in time in this career. So my student teacher that year is the one that helped me renew that passion, because I was losing that passion. And she was with me for, I would say she wasn't there the whole year, but she was there for several months, to the point where I had to renew my mindset and figure out whether I was going to push through or whether I was going to quit. Because after that year, I was going to be like, oh, I'm not doing this no more, never again. But I didn't quit, obviously. And the RenewED teacher developed from there. It was like, so when a teacher is stressed out, ready to quit, like, how do you keep that passion alive? If you lose that passion, how do you get that passion back? What are things that you can actually do? And I was like, well, this is what I did. Because by the end of the year, even though it still wasn't the most perfect year, I knew I wasn't quitting by the end of the year. But like in October, November, December, and January, I'm done. I'm done with this teaching. And I had even my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, he was like, Krystal, you never complain this much about work. He was like, what is going on? And when he said that, I knew something was wrong. So I really had to go in and just, thinking, but I had to fast forward a couple years, because I didn't really start doing the RenewED teacher until about 2016. So this was about 2011 when I started thinking about it and like taking notes and writing things down. And I just was like, well, this is what I did. I have to remember my why. Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. I'm not doing this so that everything can be peaches and cream while I'm in the classroom. Like, I'm not doing this to make myself happy. I'm doing this to help children and to help children help their dreams come true and become just productive citizens of this country, of this world, and to grow up and be good people and know the truth about historical things, and to be passionate and feel and want to learn new things and be lifelong learners. This is not necessarily for me. So if I can help these kids reach their dreams, then that makes me happy. Like, regardless of who my boss is, I'm doing this for these kids. Like, it's about them. It's not about me. And then once I changed my mindset, then I was able to refocus and renew that passion. And it is a journey. It's a process, though, because fast forward to my 10th year teaching, I was like, oh Lord, I had switched jobs. I switched districts to the district I am in now. And the struggle was real. Like, I didn't want to quit, but I definitely had those same feelings that I did that fourth year teaching, and I wasn't having fun. And I said, and that's why I didn't become an accountant, because that job was not fun. And I said, if I can't have fun doing this job, then this ain't the job for me. Either this ain't the school for me, or this ain't the district for me, or this ain't the job for me. And I was like, so I'm going to do what I do, because I have to have fun doing this job, and my scholars need to be having fun, because I believe that learning and fun can coexist, and they need to coexist. So yeah, it's just the RenewED teacher developed from me feeling burnt out and wanting to give up and not necessarily taking care of myself. But just like work, but also not balancing it out with other things.
Okay, I hear you. But you're right about the fun part. If it's not fun,
Look,
it's just hard to do the job.
right.
Hard. So you're the RenewED teacher. You're going through this journey to get to the highest level of self-care, if there's such a thing as that, as you can. So I just want to find out from you, because this is a tough time right now, as I've already said, and there's a lot going on just in our country in general with this election.
Look, I'm thinking about those numbers right now. I'm ready to check Atlanta right now.
School system, like there's so many things that we're thinking about as we're speaking. We're trying to find ways to protect our peace during this difficult and unprecedented time. So I want to find out from you, what are your top 3 tips that teachers can use to exercise self-care during COVID-19, during this current situation? What are your top 3 tips?
So I know, because I'm not just one, there's more than one part of me. There's more than just a teacher part of me. I'm also a wife. I'm also a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I have one identity, but multiple pieces that make up that identity. And I have had to speak up and ask for help multiple times. Like there are times when I have to say, husband, I need a break. I need to leave the house. I've been in the house teaching all day. I've been in the house cleaning all day. I've been in the house cooking all day. I've been in the house all day. And whether it just be to go for a ride to the grocery store to pick up some groceries, I need to like get out of the house, or just go for a jog around the neighborhood or something like that. You have to advocate for yourself. Even if it means, taking a mental health day from work, you have to advocate for yourself. You need a day just to recalibrate, to focus on you. Because honestly, from 6 in the morning until maybe 10:30 at night, when I finish preparing for the next school day, again, because during the evening, I'm spending time with my children as well. You have to speak up when you need help. My sister is very helpful when, if I need, someone to babysit the boys, but she has 2 children of herself, for her, she has 2 children as well. So we kind of flip-flop and we swap. And then I do have some other family members that can help out with the boys if we need some adult time, right? Mommy, daddy time. So just asking for help when you need it, asking for a break when you need it, taking off from work when you need it. So 1, speak up when you need help. 2, say no when you can't do something. If your plate is already full and you're just piling more on top of it, you're asking to be stressed out. You're asking to be overwhelmed. You're asking to be anxious. So you have to say no, and you can't feel guilty about it. You got to say no unapologetically. And the third thing is, make sure you eat. Make sure you're drinking water. Make sure you're doing some type of physical activity throughout the day. Every single day, my scholars and I, we do these push-up challenges. And there's sometimes I'll forget, and they'll be like, "When we doing push-ups?" And I'll be like, "Oh, we doing them right now. Let's go. Y'all ready? Turn their cameras will be off. I'll be like, turn your cameras on, because you ain't gonna say you doing push-ups and you ain't doing them." And then I'll get down right on my floor and start doing push-ups with them. And they push me though, because I was only doing 5 push-ups, and they was like, "Miss Smith, it's time to do 8. All right, it's time to do 10. It's time to do 12. It's time to do 15. Like they push me. So I went back to 10 today because I was trying to get lower to the ground. But they was like, "Oh, you got lower today. I see you. But it was harder." So like we take time to do that. And I'll make them get up from their computers, and I'm like, "All right, if I'm drinking water, y'all need to drink water. Get up and go. Make sure you eat some lunch. Make sure you drink some water." I think as teachers, we're also role models. So we have to make sure that we're modeling the behavior we expect our students to exhibit. And I think you were alluding to that earlier, Kwame. So we need to just make sure you speak up for yourself, say no when you can't do something, and don't feel guilty about it. And third, take care of your body from the inside out. You got to make sure you're eating right. You got to make sure you're drinking water. Like me, I know I've gained like 10 pounds since we've been on COVID, and I can't get rid of those 10 pounds. And I'm still trying to lose the baby weight. So I'm trying to take care of the inside so that the outside reflects that.
No, but I think you're right about all that. And then you mentioned speaking up, which is something that we all have to do more of. And I think if anybody's been paying attention to what's been going on, we have to speak up a lot more. We have to amplify our voices.
That part.
So
Yep.
This is a perfect segue into the next question. So as a teacher, as a mother, just as a human being, just as a citizen in this country,
Yeah.
like, what does activism and civic engagement look like for you? Because we see a lot of people on social media doing a lot of innovative things to bring awareness to the issues that are impacting our communities and our nation as a whole. So
Right.
I know what it looks like for you may look totally different from another person, but as a renewed teacher, as Krystal Smith, what does activism and civic engagement look like for you?
So we'll just talk about my class. I'm a math teacher and I'm a social studies teacher. And when you're departmentalized, it's usually broken up in that way, whether you teach ELA and spelling, English, writing, handwriting, reading, and then math and social studies, and sometimes science. We actually have a science teacher 3 to 5, so none of us touch that subject. But I'm a math and social studies teacher. I am not just going to teach math. And I know that a lot of teachers, this is no shade towards anybody, but I know a lot of teachers, they put social studies on the back burner. And you can tell that it's been put on the back burner for a whole bunch of years, or people will be looking at this election differently. People will be voting differently. People will be treating people differently in general. And if I go back to even my high school year, in 8th grade, I remember making my schedule for high school for 9th grade.
Right.
And I had a choice of taking either civics or African-American history. And I say or because there was no and. There was no possibility of an and. I never had civics. And when I think about what's happening right now with this election, this is all civics. Electoral college, like voting, percentages, what it takes to become a president, what you need to do to vote. I think I learned that stuff by happenstance because I wasn't taught that in school because I chose African-American history over civics. And then I was never given the opportunity to take civics later on. And that's an issue of the system. And that's something that I talked to my students about. And I said, I am going to teach social studies. Yeah, we didn't finish that math lesson, but we're going to weave that social studies up in here somehow. So every Monday, I do, what can I do with this mathematics? And I usually use, what can I do with mathematics? And I usually choose a person of color or, you know, a female, people, marginalized people that don't get seen as much in mathematics. And I share just a new person with them every day. Every Monday. So this past Monday, because it's Native American Heritage Month, I chose a Native American the first Native American who went to NASA. And they're like, oh, wow, like this is pretty cool. I never knew that. But we've talked about Katherine Johnson. We've talked about Benjamin Banneker. We've talked about several other mathematicians. And they're like, no, I didn't know I could do that with math. Oh, that's interesting. You can be a mathematician, but also be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, absolutely. So they're learning about words and jobs and careers that they've never known about. And that's one way that I show up, you know, as an activist. And one, like I teach social studies. I had a kid ask me, we were talking about the truth and just knowing what the truth is and how racism is in this country. And I've had parents text me like, yeah, teach these kids the truth, yada, yada. Like I'll be in the middle of a lesson and the parent will be texting me. So that's how I know they're in the background listening because they'll text me in the middle of a lesson.
That's what's up.
And I'm like, yeah, teach these kids the truth. And then one kid was like, well, how do we know you're not lying to us? And I was like, you don't, okay, that's fair. Like most teachers would get offended. And even for a moment, I was kind of like, oh, you think I would lie to you? Wow. And but I did ask, I said, do you think I would lie to you? And then he said, I don't know. And I was like, that's fair. And I said, I have no reason to lie to you because I want you to be the best human being possible. And as we talk about, if I was lying to you, then I wouldn't be teaching you anything about Black history. I wouldn't be teaching you anything about what good things Black people have done. I would be teaching you about slavery all the time. And I wouldn't teach you about anything before slavery. I wouldn't teach you, like, we wouldn't talk about Columbus in a way that we talked about him. We wouldn't be talking about, I would still be highlighting all the good that Columbus did, right? Which is what I was taught when I was in elementary school. And some of the kids were like, she ain't lying because my dad just said XYZ. And then they were, what your dad just say? So like I said, the parents are in the background saying stuff to their kids and the kids are repeating on the screen. I can't always hear the parents, but like they're texting me and doing all of that. So I weave math and social studies all the time. Like, I think that's the best way to do it because you can't always fit it in because unfortunately math is tested, right? So they have to know that content. You have to spend extra time on it when they don't know it. But so today, my fourth graders, they're subtracting multi-digit numbers. Guess what numbers we used? How many how many votes does President Trump have? How many votes does Biden have? All right, let's compare those numbers. Let's figure out how many more Trump has in Pennsylvania. Let's go to the tens place. Let's subtract that. Do we got to regroup? Like, those are the numbers we use. We use real life numbers. And I had them go and Google it. So just like, how do you weave your social? Like, I didn't teach social to my fourth graders today, but we definitely looked at that map and we definitely talked about the election, but it was embedded in the math.
Yes. So it just comes to show you that there are ways to integrate those non-testing content areas into the testing areas because everything's interdisciplinary.
That part, yep.
You know, ELA or literacy, which is a testing subject, is interdisciplinary. Everybody's a literacy teacher. I don't care what concept area.
I agree.
Everybody's a literacy teacher. When I was teaching math to my 7th and 8th graders, we were doing word problems. I had a literacy teacher with math vocabulary. I used to tell them, when you are explaining your work process, you need to make sure that you're using
those words,
sophisticated and appropriate math language in its correct context. Don't just use it just to use it and say, oh, I used the word. Like, you need to use it in its proper context. So there's so much more I want to say about testing because, remember, I taught in Philly. We did PSSA, so I know about the PSSA.
Yep, you know about the PSSA.
I already know about that and how that goes. But I know that you're in the school district, so I'm not gonna put you in that position.
Right.
You know? But I have a lot to say about that.
we can talk offline. We can talk offline.
We'll talk more about that because I got a lot to say. But all right, let's get into the fun part.
All right, let's go. I'm ready.
This season, we have the lightning round. So I'm going to give you a few quick hitter questions. And I know that you've been ready to go, prepped up.
Lightning round.
All right. So I know that you are a teacher tea fanatic. You stay having the freshest teacher teas. You yourself have admitted that you have an addiction. You have a problem.
I do.
Prevention, right? So I want to know from you, what is your favorite teacher tea that you're rocking these days? What's your favorite one?
I don't have a favorite, but I'm gonna tell you who my favorite people are to buy t-shirts from. All right. So my first is Tiffany White, the Avion Blue Innovations. I love her t-shirts. We got Lanisha Tab, Apron Education. Her t-shirts are everything. And then we have Trendy Teachers, like best teacher t-shirt. Those are my top three. My top three teacher tees. I got a couple others. You know what? I'm lying. My favorite tea, I'm lying. My favorite tea got to be the one by Teaching with Finesse, Danielle, the Remember Your Why. That's my favorite. That is my favorite. But those are my top 3 people that I order t-shirts from.
All right, well, you have to add my day talk to your collection real soon.
You know what I do? Yup. You gonna DM me your link so I can get the shirt?
Oh, I got you.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
All right, so listen, do a quick plug in here. So anybody that wants to get some My Day Talk apparel, you can head over to Instagram with the handle at IDTALK_apparel. So y'all check it out. New designs. But anyway, let's get back to you, Krystal.
Lightning round, let's go.
All right. Favorite self-care activity?
Sleeping in.
I ain't mad at that. We need to sleep, especially now.
Yep.
It's definitely crucial. Okay. If you could choose 3 people who you could have dinner with, dead or alive, who would those 3 people be?
All right. The first one's my dad. My dad, he passed away in 2012. I would love to have one last dinner with him. Michelle Obama, because she's all that. And Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
Like this, yeah, those 3.
All right, I like those 3. That's a good selection right there. Okay. A future guest I have to have on this podcast, or if you have more than one, you can give me more than one.
Okay. You definitely need to go with the National Teacher of the Year, Rodney Robinson. Like we got to get him on. I've had the opportunity to work with him personally. Told you earlier, we went to Yale together. We studied together. And like, people probably think like he's like this big old famous guy, but he is a regular down to earth teacher, cares about these kids, just dope husband, just dope educator, just overall dope person. Just like he definitely needs to be on here for sure. I'm thinking also you need to get Deidre from Black Girls Teach. I don't know if you've ever seen her lives, but I think she would be, she has a really big voice and she speaks very strongly about a lot of things. And I think she would be good to have on here as well.
I love it.
Yeah. And I don't know if she's been on yet, but she's definitely a good one. All right. And then like, I'm thinking like a teacher / entrepreneur. Because let's face it, a whole bunch of teachers don't make enough money to survive and got multiple jobs. So I'm thinking you got to get Tiffany White on here too, because she's a teacher and a teacherpreneur. And she's on here right now. So she's of Diavion Blue Innovations and makes great t-shirts and pins and stickers and sweatshirts. And she's overall just a genuine friend. She's a really good person and very helpful. And I think like those 3 right off the top, Rodney Robinson, Deidre, I think is it Dougherty, her last name?
I think it's Fogarty.
Fogarty, thank you.
Yeah.
My bad, D, I'm sorry. And and Tiffany White, Diavion Blue Innovations. I got a whole bunch more. But like just right off top, just those 3. And then I'll DM you some more. Because look.
Listen, I got a list already. A serious guest wish list, like real talk.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to get the people who are doing it, and there are just so many people who are doing it. But one thing I do know, I know by the end of the season, I'm probably gonna have the whole Teacher to Teacher magazine crew up on here before the season's over.
Magazine is lit. Like it's like I'm praying for big things for Debris in her magazine. It's a great idea. It looks great. Her team is amazing. We had a meeting last night and the team is filled with passionate educators and teachers that care about kids and teachers that care about themselves as well. Cause that balance is important. Like you can't just care, you got to care about yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of these kids. So it's it's a really good team. And what Debreeze is doing, I don't know how she does it. She got to teach me how to make these magazines because they turn out really nice. It turned like they're so nice. And right. I hope that one day they can be a print edition in somebody's store.
No,
like, something.
But that was something that we talked about last week that she was on. Like, we need to make this a print edition.
Yep.
And I already told her, like, I would invest in it. Like, whatever you need. If it's a donation, like, I already told her, you want me to get an ad up in there? I'll give you an ad. Because we don't support each other. Because these things, they weren't happening when I was growing up. Like, I can think about my childhood. I don't recall seeing a commercial where I saw a Black male teacher doing positive things in the classroom. I never saw that on the TV screen.
Never, ever.
I saw athletes, I saw entertainers, and I'm a hip hop head, so I saw a lot of rappers and artists, who I still listen to this day, but I didn't see, brothers in the classroom doing positive things with their students.
Right.
So I myself got into education and started to really follow it, that I started to see those images. So this magazine is something that's already changing the whole landscape and how we perceive educators. Like, right. And I mean, I know Shivy, shout out to Call Me Shivy.
Yep.
We talk about this all the time about, the cool teachers of the cool teachers.
Yep.
Like, now we have the cool teachers now. They got some of them got tattoos. Some of them got double-studded, Some of them wear the same clothes as the kids.
Yep.
Apart.
Lord, let me tell you. So when I had my Halloween costume on and I had my Jordans on, the kids was like, "You got on Jordans? What?" They couldn't believe it because I like, even at school I don't really wear sneakers. But like when they saw the Jordans, they was like, "You got J's? What, Miss Smith? Oh my God!" but they loved it. Like it just shows that connection that how you connect with kids is most times what they wear, the video games they play, and what they watch on TV or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just they got the cool teachers.
Nah, you're not lying about that. You're definitely not lying. But Krystal, this has been awesome. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time to come on the show to talk with us. I know it was a long teaching day for you, so I really appreciate you. But before you leave, if you could just share your social media information, how can people follow you? And I know you already have your IG handle on there, but what other ways can people follow you and your work?
All right. I am also on Facebook as the Renewed Teacher. I have a Facebook page on there. I'm on Twitter, and it's Krystal L. Smith at Renewed Teacher. So the is not there. It's just at Renewed Teacher on Twitter. And I'm also on Instagram at the Renewed Teacher. So at _renewed_teacher. I also have a blog, and it's called therenewedteacher.com. So those are the places where you can find me. That's where you can follow me, learn more about me, see what I'm about, get some healthy and habitual self-care tips to help you renew your passion and keep your passion for teaching and education at large. Teachers, we need you. We need you to stay. And right now it's hard to stay committed because of the situations that some of us are being put in that are unfair. But we need you, and the kids need you too. So look, we're going to be out here praying for y'all because COVID ain't no joke and the numbers are just spiking. So if you need some motivation, some encouragement, some inspiration, come follow me. Because I'm going to make you think, but I'm going to also I ain't going to always make you feel good, but I'm going to try to make you feel good too, because we need you in this profession. But the Renewed Teacher, just here to keep your passion high for kids and keep your passion high for teaching.
Yes, make sure you check out the Renewed Teacher website and blog. Incredible information, a lot of helpful tips. And also check out the Renewed Teacher handle on IG and all of her other platforms. She's always bringing the perfect mix of entertainment and education. Or should we say edutainment? Pretty much. It's pure edutainment.
Edutainment. It's the same in the classroom. The way I am on IG is the way I'm in the classroom.
Yes, keeping it real. So, Krystal, thank you again. And we're going to connect soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, folks. So here we have it. We're about to close out another episode of Identity Talk for Educators Live. But before we do that, as always, I got to share some announcements. So as you already know, we have our virtual school officially launched. And here's a good part about it. If you're a teacher in Massachusetts, you have the opportunity to earn professional development points if you enroll in the virtual school. More specifically, the Shaping the Teacher Identity 101 program, which will help you shape your teacher identity as you go through your own educator journey. And we're talking about everything from cultural responsive teaching to anti-racist practices to techniques and tools for teaching, such as classroom management, time management, family and parent engagement, all the things that you need in order to be a successful teacher in the classroom from year 1 all the way through to year 30, if you are there for that long. So please make sure that you check us out, book a call with us, Identity Talk Consultant here at Calendly.com/Identity Talk for Educators. And then for our aspiring writers who are in the education field, if you want to pen your own book, if you have that one book in you that you've been dying to write, but you feel like you don't have the time, well, we have a course specifically for you called the Self-Publishing Educators Learning Lab, SPELL for short. And if you want to learn more about the program, you can go to Calendly.com/Identity Talk for Educators. And then, of course, we have some swag, as I was telling Krystal. So we have our online apparel shop, which is now on Facebook as well. So if you're on Facebook, if you just type in Identity Talk Apparel, you'll see some of this apparel there. Hoodies, t-shirts. We have tote bags, organic, of course, because we're trying to protect our environment. And they're there for you all to check out and to purchase. And, you know, we're in the fall season, so you definitely need a hoodie. You definitely need that in your life. So make sure you check us out on Facebook, but also on the Teespring website. So you see the URL there. And yeah, we're doing big things here in Identity Talk. You know, this is a movement that's just continuing to grow. And of course, we have this podcast. So if you love what you heard today from Krystal or from our previous guest, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because it's important for us to not only increase the viewership, but to spread the word about this platform, because this is for the unsung heroes of education, the people that may not have the 30,000 followers, the people who don't have the spotlight on them, but they're doing just as incredible work as those people we see all the time. This is the show for them. So in order for us to keep the word going, in order for us to improve the show and to provide the quality content that you want to hear, we love to hear your feedback. So leave the review on Apple Podcasts, but also if you really love what you're hearing, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and all streaming platforms. And that is it, y'all. So until next time, I wish you all a good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We're going to do this again another time. Peace out, everybody.